I'd like to play a little just name association with you with a few of the conductors that you've worked with over the years. Maybe just a couple memories or a thought about each one. We already talked about Zubin Mehta and his great spirit. But let's start with Sir George Solti.
Solti was precise. If I had to give a quick word, it'd be precise, precision. And old school, very proud. One thing I always enjoyed working with him, he spoke in a thick Hungarian accent and he'd say, "My dias." He always referred to the orchestra as his dias, "my dias." It says, "Pianissimo." Safety first. He didn't want you to play so soft that you missed it. He always gave you the little option to have safety first.
Wow.
And, you know, he could subdivide and you felt at everything. The way he gave you an upbeat before the downbeat. If you had a soft entrance on something, before it you'd get 3, 4. So you knew exactly where the rhythm was for that downbeat.
Wow.
And I love that about him.
Wow, that's great. That must have been exhilarating coming right out of school, and then this is the first guy you end up working for.
It was big time. One quick story about Solti. We would do in Zarathustra, it might have been my first week. I think it was my first week there. Actually, the first thing I ever did with Chicago Symphony was a concert in Milwaukee, a run-out concert. I phoned Herseth on the Sunday night, said, "I'm in town. What do I do?" He says, "Tomorrow night, Monday night, we have a run-out to Milwaukee." He says, "You come. You're going to play assistant second, I think this will be double on the Tchaikovsky symphony." So I did that. It was the first thing I played up there. And my heart was beating. My first professional thing was playing a concert with Chicago Symphony. The next week was Zarathustra. Every trumpet player in school knows. And everyone knows that. But nobody ever watches and studies. Which is the third and fourth trumpet part. That's the part I had to play. So I hear, and then I'm looking at my music and I'm thinking, where the heck is the beat? I just couldn't find where the beat was in the thing. And I missed it. And Solti went back and found some reason to go back and do it again, went through it, and I still didn't get it. It was not together. I played it, but it wasn't together. And he went back again, and this time, the third time, he says, "Come along, fourth trumpet." At which point my heart went into my stomach. And I leaned real close to Bill Scarlett. And as soon as I heard him go, I went, "Da-da-da-da." And it happened to be together, so we got by that. And I then went home and looked at the bar and figured out where the beats were in the bar, because I couldn't figure it out. Talk about greenhorn, that was me. But anyway, that was
well, thanks for sharing that story. And I'm sure that if for all of listening, you know, if everybody experiences that. So if Phil Smith experiences it, it's okay. You just got to fix it, right?
Yeah, fix it. Get it done.
Get it, come along, as you said, right? Let's keep it with a couple more names. Kurt Masur.
Kurt Masur, old school, stern face, Germanic man, feisty. You had to be careful not to let him get the better of you psych-wise. He was a hard guy, but I loved his music making, especially his Germanic repertoire, his Beethoven, that music. And the other thing I loved about him was whenever we did choral works, he had a great affinity for doing choral works. He dove into the theme of the piece and was able to pull that out of the chorus, and the way he balanced the orchestra and all of that, I love that about him. He was a hard guy, and there were times I think that he got the better of people, and that was hard. But in some way, I found him exhilarating to work for.
And then the maestro who I believe followed Masur, Laurent Maazel.
Yeah, a professional, absolute professional. Stick technique, he could give you every 16th if you needed it. He was a professional. Whereas with Masur, sometimes you wondered as you played something, am I going to get a look that says I'm wrong? With Maazel, he trusted you, and there would be times when he would turn away, and he just trusted you to do. He knew that as long as he showed it, you would be there. Masur didn't have the greatest technique in terms of conducting and cleanliness that way, but Maazel was very pristine and very professional. And yeah, that was just a nice change. There's always a reason when you have Mater to Masur to Maazel to Gilbert. There's a reason why those people are there, and it always has to do with who the predecessor was. Because of the working relationship and things like that, then that affects who's then going to come. And I'll leave it there.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, you know, this story you shared earlier about Zubin Mehta, that must have been quite a transition then, to go from a guy who was that giving and basically wanted everything to go well, you know, to somebody who's more, you know,
a little more demanding.
More demanding. Yeah, interesting. And let's finish up. I heard you perform an all Copland concert with this gentleman, and it was spectacular, and I know you worked with him a lot, but Leonard Bernstein.
Oh, Lenny Bernstein. I was so pleased. When I first came, we weren't seeing very much of Lenny. And then he started to come, and I was so pleased about that, because you can't talk about New York Philharmonic without Lenny Bernstein. It's like ham and eggs, Oreos and milk. I mean, it's just the two go together. And great. He was an enigma. I guess that's, if I had to put a word to Lenny Bernstein, it's an enigma, because he was this great musician. And a great conductor, great pianist, a great communicator, great composer. And yet sometimes it was tough figuring him out. And his who he was as a person would sometimes conflict with who he was as a musician. And that was there. But I loved working with him. He was a lovely man, a lovely man. He scared me. I can remember standing in the elevator in the Imperial Hotel in Tokyo on my first tour with Lenny Bernstein. It was a tour. We did a live Shostakovich 5 recording. And I'm standing in the elevator, and all this hustle and bustle in the lobby as Lenny Bernstein comes to, wearing his black hat and his black cape, and as the cape flares out, it's red underneath. And he's walking right towards the elevator, and all the entourage with him, and I'm going, oh, great. And he walked in the elevator, and he looked at me. He was just a little guy, and he came up to me, and he grabbed my cheek, and he says, "My little first trumpet player." And I was like, oh, gosh. But, you know, I had such tremendous respect for him as a musician, and that you never played anything that you just didn't feel he was giving it 100% of himself. Not everything worked. Sometimes a little less of him in the piece might have been good. But you knew that he was giving it the best he could. And he loved, another quick story. The Philharmonic Brass Quintet did a concert in Tanglewood with the Canadian Brass and the BSO Brass. And we went up there early, and I took my family in, and we were in the shed as Lenny was finishing a rehearsal with the kids. And I said to my wife, I said, come on, let me introduce you and the kids to Maestro. So I took him up, and he was most gracious. I introduced Maestro, this is my wife, and he shook her hand, and my son, who was 6 at the time, and he was so nice. He shook Brian's hand and just greeted him lovely. And I said, and then my daughter, she was 3 at the time, and he reached down. He wanted to, he gave her a hug. Of course, he was sweating. He gave her a hug. Oh, it's lovely to meet you. And when he pulled back, she went, yuck. And I was mortified. But he laughed and laughed and laughed. And he spoke about that numerous times. He loved kids. He loved family. And he felt like the orchestra was his family as well. That was an extension of his family. And that's just who he was. He was such a lovely guy in that sense.
Those are great stories, Phil. Thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. Well, just changing a little bit of direction here. If you've recorded so many CDs, both as a chamber ensemble player, as brass band player, as in the Philharmonic. If you had to pick a few and just say, this is my favorite work that I've done, is it possible you could share a
No.
few of those with us, or is it,
It really
too
isn't,
much?
Chris. I'll be honest with you, I hardly ever listen to my stuff. Because I don't know. I want to do the best I can. I do the best that I can on it. And life changes, you know. One of the problems is you listen to something that you did a while ago. If you're preparing a solo now or something, preparing something now, and you listen to something you did 10, 15, 20 years ago, and you're thinking, shoot, I could play it then. and so, you know, but so no, it's hard for me to pick out those things. I am proud of a few things. I am proud of the collar CD that I did. The record label collar came in when all the principal players from the Philharmonic did one.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And I am pleased with that. I really worked hard at that and wanted every item on the CD to be a statement. You know, I wanted it to be the best that it could be, but I also wanted it to be a listening CD, because to me, program's important, and I think we captured the right balance there. I'm proud of the concerts, what do they call it? Contest solos, one that I did with ITG's. Supposedly easier solos for the young trumpet player. That was one of the hardest CDs I ever did. Those solos were so easy I couldn't play them. And the excerpt CD, well, that was groundbreaking, and other people have gone on to do great things. Mike Sachs has just put out a product now that's really great. You know, technology has changed and it's great. But I was proud of what I did in that, and again, I think got the right balance of not too deep into the teaching aspect of it, but able to give some little tidbit of information that would help and then to play it. So I was proud of those. I'm also proud of some of the things that I've done. Again, from my worldview as a Christian, I love some of the world's greatest hymns CD that I have. Nothing fancy, but just stuff that speaks to my heart and comes from my heart, and I love that. And obviously the few things my wife and I have done, we had a gospel group called Resounding Praise, and just to be able to do something with your wife, you know, she's a singer, and that sharing of talents and help, you know, lifting each other up musically to give something that's coming from the gifts that God has given to you, but then using them to your best ability to honor the Lord back again. Those are things that I'm very proud of.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Well, Phil, you've been a tremendous inspiration to everybody who's gotten a chance to work with you. I know when you played on several of my projects, just the musicianship you bring to it, and it takes the music to a place that, as a writer and as a producer, I was not anticipating, and I know everybody who gets a chance to work with you feels that way about your work. You've nurtured a lot of younger players, and in particular even the section right now with the New York Philharmonic, young folks that I'm sure, just like you got a lot out of Herseth, I'm sure they get a ton sitting next to you. As we kind of wrap up here today, I always ask this question to the great artists we are fortunate to talk to. If you had a piece of advice or a little bit of advice to offer to young folks today that want to become musicians, or in particular want to become an orchestral trumpet player, what would, if you could capsulize it down to a quick thought, what might that advice be?
I think if I think about my dad, what I heard in my dad in his playing, what I heard from him in his teaching of the band or teaching me in a lesson, what continued with Ed Troidel in his bel canto teaching style, what I heard in great trumpet players like Herseth, Andre, and other numerous greats. And what's always sort of been impressed on me, again, coming out of my experience as a Christian and hymnody and all of that, the tying together of lyric and song, I think the one simple thing that I would say to any young kid is sing. Sing, sing. Let song be the guide, because all the technical things, and we do have to talk about those will all be fixed if it's coming out sounding songful, if it's sounding beautiful, if you're trying to articulate or pronounce each note in a songful manner and tying that together, then the articulation is right and the usage of the air is right and all of that. So sing, sing, sing. There's a scripture verse that I often use in a master class, Ephesians, from the book of Ephesians, the 5th chapter, 19th and 20th verses, and it says, "Sing and make music in your heart to the Lord, and give thanks to God for everything in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ." Give thanks to God the Father for the gift that He's given you, the ability that He's given you, the enjoyment you get out of playing. Give that back to Him, and sing and make music in your heart, because that will be what communicates with other people. All the other stuff is filigree, and you're working it and try to improve it, but it's that singing thing. So in all things, sing.
That's a wonderful piece of advice. And Phil, I just want to thank you so much for taking time out. I know you're getting ready to play a Mahler 1 tonight to have a great concert.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for the inspiration and for setting the bar so high for all of us to strive to
Mike,
come up to that.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me be a part of some of the projects that you've let me be a part of. It's been a thrill for me to do that.
Wow,
so
I
appreciate it.
Oh, that's very generous of you to thank me. Actually, I thank you. It's been terrific. But thanks so much, Phil.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Bone2Pick. Hey everybody, this is Michael Davis here at HipBoneMusic headquarters in Nanuet, New York. I hope everybody's school year is off to a terrific start. I wanted to talk to you today about my new books, Bone Kill and Trumpet Kill. Very excited to see the response we're getting from the books. People are really enjoying playing the music, which is always the number one thing for a composer or a publisher is you got to have people wanting to play the music. So we're really excited about that. We feel like it's a really great product. This morning I was thinking about one of the things that I'm really happy with is how just the graphics and the design of the cover came out. I have a wonderful graphic designer in Woodstock, New York named Ann DeMarinis. She's done all of the work at HipBoneMusic. And I really felt like she outdid herself on this cover. Just a vibrant red with this really cool bone kill graphic. And really pleased with that, so just wanted to mention that. From a playing standpoint, I wanted to just share my thoughts with you about it. I've been practicing out of it for about the last 3 weeks, pretty much every day. And one of the cool things about the book is it breaks down into kind of two ways. One is it's 15 etudes, so you can kind of practice those on a daily basis. And the other way is it's 5 3-movement suites for solo trombone or for solo trumpet. So they really were great for recitals or performances. So something to keep in mind. But as I've been playing it, it's really been helping my facility and my flexibility in ways that I hadn't really thought of when I wrote the pieces. So that's kind of a cool thing. I've been also playing it down an octave on bass trombone, which everybody knows my bass trombone playing needs some help. So maybe this is the answer. It can give me some help, but it's really been working well. It's particularly helpful in terms of facility down the low register and interval relationships and things like that. So worth checking it out. I'm actually toying with the idea of putting out a tuba kill book at some point down the road. So anyway, if you haven't checked out the book yet, take a second to go to the HipBone store at HipBoneMusic.com. There's a bone kill page and a trumpet kill page. There's a couple videos for each one, as well as some examples of the music itself. So it really gives you a good feel for the book. And I think you're going to like it. The response has been universally fantastic. So really, if you haven't checked it out, take a second and see if it might be something for you, because I think we're onto a good thing here. So I'd like to finish up today just by playing a brief excerpt from the first etude in the book called Strap Hangers. That's from the Commute Suite, and I'm just going to play a little piece of it. It's kind of one of my favorite etudes, so I like to play that one quite a bit. So we're going to wrap up with that. Thanks for checking this out today. Continued success at school for everybody, and we'll look forward to checking in with you down the road. Be well.